New York.
I want to hear all about it. You're
We're
gonna
having a
debrief with me.
What?
You're gonna tell me all about it. So you have a full debrief, Maddie.
Oh, no.
I'm excited for you. That is so awesome.
We're studying those. I want to get rid of this. Just have to go tonight to this one.
Okay.
No, we take. I do a search book, I show everybody. You're not lying, because you're anybody.
I love it.
Yeah.
10 people. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm so glad to see you all. We're welcoming two new friends with us. Dina Schwartz is with us this morning, and Wendy, tell me your last name.
Wendy Bader.
And Wendy Bader, so great. Wendy's a new member to our congregation, so give her a big Temple Bethel hello.
I'm not. Very nice.
Where am I from originally? New York, Long Island. Seventh the North Shore.
That's it.
I'm from Syosset. Ah, we moved in June. You're from Syosset? Here we go. You're from Syosset? My grandmother's on a drive, East Birchwood.
See, hold on.
Big, lots of good family here. You got good family and nice friends already.
No. You might move to Long Island. I'm from Maine.
Well, I love that.
Ah.
But there, where are you from in the Netherlands?
I'm from South Carolina.
You're from Connecticut.
I'm very happy.
I know,
That's not even good too.
It's like the most, I think West Florida in the area. Beautiful place. You have these incredible hills, beautiful forests, this incredible like.
Okay, let's see here.
And water.
And the beaches and the falls are unbelievable, but they're not Florida beaches, so like you want to walk on the beach.
Okay, everybody, Boker Tov, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Let's all come here, we'll be present here, let's leave everything else behind. You don't need anything for a second, put it down, put your feet on the ground. And let's just become present here in this room. We're here, we're in our Beit Midrash, our room, our house of. We're here, we're in our Beit Midrash, our house of study. We're here to welcome the insight and wisdom of our tradition, to be moved by the words of Torah, to be open to what we will share around this table, what our tradition will share with us. The words of Torah will illuminate for us today and allow us to come to a place of new discovery, of awe, of wonder, and of beauty. And that is what we are here to do. We're here to quiet the noise of the outside world for just the hour that we will be together, giving us the time and the space and the ability to learn, to be open, and to bring our heart and our souls to the richness of our tradition. Say, Amen. Begin with our prayer for the study of Torah. I'm gonna just share it on the screen so that everybody has access to it. And we'll say it together. Asher Kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'asok v'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy with your mitzvot and commanded us to study the words of Torah. Amen. Okay, so today we have a special treat. In front of you, you have the new Reform Torah commentary. What does it not look like? The old one. But it's also not a book, it's a printout, right? It's not on our shelf because guess what? It's still in process. They're still writing it. This is a really, really big deal. We have not had a new Reform movement commentary since it was published 40 years ago. Okay, so for 40 years, we have been using the Gunther Clout translation and commentary, which is on our shelves. And so it has been a journey, and the reform movement has undertaken an enormous task of creating a commentary that is reflective of the context and the world in which we are living, as well as pulling on the roots and tradition of from where we've come. And we being Temple Beth El and our position movement, we have been offered the opportunity to pilot a section of the Torah commentary, which is really exciting. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be reading a section of Vayera, which was in fact last week's Torah portion. But it was actually interesting because in order to understand even more fully this week's Torah portion, which is Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, there's actually a lot more to learn about Sarah in last week's portion than what we learn in this week's portion. So we will be connecting the two. We'll be studying the text from Vayera, from the Torah portion of last week, because we have this unique ability and opportunity to pilot the material in the text. But we're also gonna be looking at it through the lens of, if the Torah portion for this week is called the life of Sarah, but it opens with, and Sarah's lifespan was, now listen to how it's written. Okay, I'm gonna first tell you how it, I'll show you, wait. Okay, here we go. Up on the screen, you'll see it. Okay. Okay. This is the opening of this week's Torah portion of Chaye Sarah. I just need this. Okay. Vayu Chaye Sarah. Sarah's lifetime. Mea shana ve'esrim. Shana ve'sheva shanim. Shnei Chaye Sarah. The span of Sarah's life came to, now in the Hebrew it says 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. Usually it is written, when you say somebody's age, how would you say her age?
127.
127. But the text and the Hebrew of the text explains it differently. Sarah was 100 years, 20 years, 7 years. Now Rashi immediately comments on the verse by saying that she was 100, but she had the purity of a 20-year-old, but really the innocence and the joy of life of a 7-year-old, even though she lived in these many advanced years. However, what I want us to think about today, especially as it relates to our task of going backwards into Vayera to understand Chaye Sarah, is I wanted to think about 3 distinct blocks of time: the past, her present, and her future. Also, we can look at it as 3 distinct milestone moments of that define periods of her life that give us insight into the character, to the value, into the wisdom, into the person who she was, the legacy that she leaves behind, and what we should take from Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, that should be a moral guide and a compass for how to live our lives. So 100 years, 20 years, 7 years instills for us that there are moments of her life in which we should go back and learn and investigate in order to truly understand who she was and who she continues to be for us. And so that's actually what we're going to do today. We're going back in time into Vayera to understand different moments. So the first moment we're going to look at is when she experiences this news that she will give birth to Isaac, and she what? She laughs. That's a pretty pivotal moment in her life journey. Okay. The second instance that we're going to look at is once she already gives birth to this baby, she then has to figure out what she wants to do with the other baby. Who's the other baby?
Ishmael.
Very good. Ishmael. Okay. Because she went to Hagar, Abraham's maidservant, when she realized she wasn't going to give him any children, and Hagar had a son. Now there's another moment in time. It's another block of time that we want to investigate who was Sarah and what is the Torah teaching us about her. And then finally we'll come back to Chaye Sarah with the moment of her death. Okay? Everyone's good on our timeline today? 3 chunks of time that relate to the opening line of the Torah portion while reflecting back on last week's section. And then coming back, wrapping it up with Hayesar to understand the picture of her death and then her life. Okay?
You're
So
hanging out.
excited. Do you have stuff? You need one. Okay. We have one right here.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe we put one next right next to us. I think we just one.
I got
We just need one. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna look at this section. Okay, the section that we are going to explore together. First and foremost in Vayera. I'm gonna just share, I have to just get the people online up to speed with us. There they are. Okay, my friends online, here you are, here we are. Okay, Vayera, all right. Let's go to the text. We are gonna start with, I just want to give everyone some context, because it's cool since we have this unique ability to look at the section itself. I want you to see the design of the page, okay? Because that's also interesting. You have first, on the left side of the page, okay, if you're looking on page 4, we're gonna be on page 4.
We can write.
Yes, this is yours. You can write on it, you're gonna take it home, you're gonna explore it. You can put your name on it, you can do whatever you want. You can make it however it's comfortable for you to learn. Okay, so what I'm doing, just so you know, is I'm folding the pages so it looks like it reads like a book. You see? Oh, okay. This is your first learning today. You have a packet with a staple. I'm pulling it over and I'm lining it up. So now it reads like a book. So I can have the Hebrew and the English together.
I start saying
So with 5-star teachers. Okay, here we go. All right.
That's her brow.
Okay, so you got it? Now you have your book. It is hot in here. You can turn, you want to turn it down? So I mean, whether it's gonna work or not, I don't know, but just press the button. Okay. So now here's the design of the page is meaningful. Just like a page of Talmud, right? Do we know what a page of Talmud looks like? Okay, the page of Talmud in this section is the Gemara. It's the Mishnah of the Gemara. That's what's in the middle. Around the page is the commentary on the section that's in the middle that we're talking about. So here, similarly, on the left side of the page, but if you're in page 4, on the left side is the Hebrew. Those are the words of the Torah. Next to it is called who wants to read the word? Mikorot, okay? The Mikorot, this piece is curated by scholars with expertise in Jewish biblical interpretation throughout the ages. These experts, this commentary on the text, okay, in the new Torah commentary that we're looking at, is going to be interpretations from the Second Temple period to the present. All right? This is the Rashi, basically. We're gonna call it like the commentary on the text from Second Temple period to present. This whole collection here. Now, Rabbi Rachel Mikva, who's coming in to be one of our Wisdom and Wonder speakers for a weekend in February 12, 13, 14. She is one of the people who is creating and designing the Mikorot section of the new Torah commentary. She is wicked smart, okay? And she is incredibly insightful and just a phenomenal rabbi and theologian and scholar. She is working on the Mikorot section for Parsha Noah, which we will actually have the pleasure of studying with her when she's here over the weekend. For all of the work that she has done so that we can actually understand what it means to put together the whole commentary, which is fascinating. Like what sources are they pulling from? Why are they placing it there? It's really fascinating, and we're gonna learn from this person who's actually doing the work. Okay, so these are excerpts that are arranged thematically around. No, you're gonna share. You're gonna share. What? She could share here. Oh, they Marsha and Dory can share. That's fine. I also have it on the screen. Yeah, and we have it on the screen.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, so they're arranged thematically around textual moments that resonate with contemporary concerns, similarly to how Rashi did. That's how Rashi's commentary is. Rashi looks at the verses of the Torah and they're gonna comment based on contextual societal concerns and moments in time. Okay? So that's what we're gonna be looking at. And then the Chidushim, which are at the bottom of the page, which we'll see in a few moments. These are texts that are commissioned for the commentary that will offer new perspectives on the text and the issues that it raises that are not explored in the literature about the Parsha. The Chidushim will be designed to be accessible to the widest range of readers, including people who have little experience with biblical text and interpretation. So that's really interesting. That's like a new addition of very modern commentary that's responding to ancient themes. Okay, so this is a very cool experience. All right, so let's look here. So what we have is we've got the Mikorot, which I want, as we're reading the text itself in the translation, as you're hearing what I'm reading aloud, glance over to the Mikorot and see what stands out for you, because I want you to pull out and share with us what stands out for you. The way we're reading Vayera today for our purposes also is to try to understand, remember, the character of Sarah. Right, because today is Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. As we are reading this section, what are we learning about Sarah? Okay, in this first block of time of her life. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read out loud on page 5, the English translation, starting with verse 1. Okay. Remember, highlight, underline, circle, whatever stands out for you or what's interesting for you. Okay. Okay. All right. Adonai appeared to him at the oaks of Mamre as he was sitting by the tent flap at the peak of the day's heat. Who is him? Abraham, good. God appeared to Abraham. Page 5, line 1. You're good. Right, it's a little. There we go. Does everyone see where you are? Everyone see where we are? Take your finger, point to it. Okay, great. All right. He lifted his gaze and suddenly saw 3 people standing near him. As soon as he saw them, he ran from the tent flap to greet them, bowed down to the ground and said, "My lords, if I find favor with you, please do not pass your servant by. If you would, let a little water be brought, wash your feet, and recline in comfort under the tree. Let me bring you a bit of bread so that you can restore your strength, and after that, you may go on past, seeing that you have passed your servant's way." They said, "Do as you have said." Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, "Hurry, 3 measures of semolina flour, knead it and make cakes." Then Abraham ran to the herd and got a calf, tender and choice, and gave it to a servant boy who hurried to prepare it. He got curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared, set these before them, and stood close by them under the tree while they ate. I'm going to stop. What do you see first? What do you hear? And then just scan the Mikorot section on page 4. What stands out for you? Hospitality. Good. Hospitality. What's a small thing, but a notice how the name, Abraham's name is written in this new commentary? How is it written? Abraham. Right? Abraham, which is a true it's just the transliteration. It's not Abraham, it's Abraham. It's a transliteration of the Hebrew. That was an intentional choice.
Interesting.
Right? That's an intentional choice of the editors, of the writers of this new commentary, from the Reformed commentary, that we're not just writing Abraham, we are restoring and coming back to the nature of his name, Avraham, and putting the Hebrew in the transliteration. So that's an interesting editorial choice and a commentary also on us and where we have evolved to as a movement. Spencer.
He clearly cares for them and takes them into his care, because if you look, he says, hang on, I'm looking for it. He wants them to restore their strength, so that you can restore your strength. If you think about wandering through the old day, you didn't have a car and water and stop at a gas station. So you're probably not feeling great after wandering. And he probably figures, let me help them feel better so they can survive the length of their journey.
Beautiful, so it's hospitality, but it's also empathy, right? He has an empathetic presence, almost a pastoral presence. What's interesting though also about Abraham at this moment is that he's actually just off of his recovery of his circumcision.
Yeah.
So what's interesting here is it says that he also has just experienced, right? It's not in the text, but we know from the context that he's just circumcised himself. So he also has understanding of what it means to welcome, to provide, to make people feel good, right? And to heal. So it's just an interesting,
What was in the older book, instead of people, what was the word used? He didn't say people, he didn't say three people.
oh, those messengers.
Amen.
It's interesting because now they're putting it at people, which is more colloquial. speech.
Exactly.
This whole thing is very colloquial, except for Abraham, where they're throwing it back to the original
Yes,
wording, which is, it makes it so much more modern.
yes,
Accessible.
accessible.
Years ago, I don't know how many years ago, maybe Amy remembers, we were part of a study that went over the language.
Yeah.
In the new,
That might have been before my time.
oh, no, it wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Okay, well, I wasn't coming then.
That's a sensitive subject, let's not bring it up.
We were part of a pilot project that went over language and had to make it more modern.
You don't tell you that. John, it's a sensitive subject, we don't talk about it. Okay, wait, I'm just looking up, he saw. So she might have.
But did say
So
that.
the interesting thing, it says three figures in the, I'm here, I'm looking at the, I wanna see if, one second, I'm gonna do this differently, the share. So that everybody can see, I'm wondering if I can share my screen and go back and forth. No, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm pulling up the Safari text so I can see it, it says three figures. Now the text is anashim, which is which is the closer translation, like even in modern Hebrew, is people.
Really?
Yeah, but what's interesting is because I bet you also is the way that the text says three figures from the translation, the original JPS translation. But also, messengers is how we've been, from a teaching, but this is very specific, three people.
Why would they do that? Why would they say people when we've been to understand that they were messengers and they were angels, sort of?
But the text doesn't say it, the Hebrew doesn't suggest that. It doesn't say malachim, doesn't say angel, it says anashim, shlosha anashim, three people.
Okay.
It's interesting. However, the way that this reads is, you're right, it feels more like a story, like a novel even, right? It's very interesting. Okay, good insights there. Yes,
The way Abraham does them a favor, it makes them feel that they're doing him a favor. It's very, very gracious the way he does it. If you find favor in me, have a drink. Instead of I'm giving you a drink.
yeah,
And it's very, very gracious.
yes,
So can I throw something out there? It's very interesting because everyone knows my sister's Orthodox. And when her son was getting married, the Machatanim wanted to pick up my parents from the airport. And we're like, you can't pick them up from the airport. It's the day before your daughter's wedding. She's like, don't deprive me of the mitzvah. And that's why I had to do the background. That's what it is, exactly what you're saying. These messengers are allowing him to do the mitzvah. It's not that he's off, how do I say that?
But it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
yeah,
Yes.
it's beautiful, and even if you find favor, it's the Hebrew, if we look at the Hebrew for a second, let me just see where. Verse 3. Okay, it's one of my favorite lines in Hebrew, and we see it often throughout, we see it at certain moments of time in the Torah. Vayomer Adoni, okay, line 3. Matzati chen be'einecha. Matzati chen be'einecha. That is, if you find favor, if I find favor in your eyes. Right, that's the Hebrew itself. In your eyes, matzati chen be'einecha, if I find favor in yours, if you see me and I see you, it's such a beautiful phrase.
It's like namaste.
It's okay, yeah, that's exactly what it really is, right?
It really is.
Yeah, talk more.
I don't know what the exact wording is, but when you say namaste to somebody, it's like may the good energy in me meet the good energy in you, something like that?
Yes, it's a reflective energy, right? This is,
Actually translates, because I took yoga
Thank
for
you.
23 years, the divine in me sees the divine in you.
There you go.
okay, so it's exactly like that then.
You're so silly.
Right, what, Wendy, bring it in, first day, I love it. Okay, so say it again, Tara.
The divine in me sees the divine in you.
Matzati chen beinecha, that's a beautiful translation of Matzati chen beinecha.
Doesn't
Okay.
that, I'm sorry, doesn't that show you how all of our religions that we're aware of actually come from the same soul?
Yeah.
And then branch off in different ways.
That's the beauty of being open to learning from many different places and many different people and many different faith traditions is also these beautiful they're like these beautiful intersection moments where we see the beauty in the Matzati Chen Beinecha. We see the beauty in the divine in each one of these things being reflected back. And that's one of the reasons I love this verse. I love this phrase. We see it often throughout the Torah in the moment of like, if I find favor, if I can see the divine reflected in you, if I can, right? Like this is such a beautiful thing. And so exactly with Parsha, what you're saying is, it's not like, oh, would you like, if I happen to go back and bring you some flour, would you be willing? It's by that point, it's like, oh my gosh, it's not already, right? But this is, please, like, let me sit down and let me care for you, right? Like, it's this beautiful thing.
I don't even let me care for you, it's do me the favor and let me care for you.
Yeah,
Right, like, let me, right, like, it is a mutuality there, it's not one-sided.
so it's actually, the giver is actually asking for it, for them to allow him to do it, because that is
Right.
a mitzvah.
Exactly. Jack, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. It didn't have to do specifically with this, but if you believe in the documentary theory, could this be a story that there were actually two stories that now made one by saying God appeared and lo and behold, he picked his eyes up and saw three people. I mean, that to me is a combining of possible two stories about the similar incident.
It could be for sure, I mean, there's lots of opportunities where that rings true. And it will, you can see from a contextual perspective, it could be. We don't know for sure in and of itself, but yes, it could be. In terms of what you see with the language. All right, let's go to page 6, we're gonna continue the story, we're going to verse 15. Okay, okay. You're on page 7, I'm sorry, I just have to navigate the pages here online, okay, here we go. All right, page 7, they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "There in the tent." Then one said, "Be assured, I will come back to you in about a year's time, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Meanwhile, Sarah had been listening at the tent flap, which was right behind him. Now, Abraham and Sarah were old, far along in years, to the way of women. Far along in years, the way of women for Sarah had long since ceased. So Sarah, Titzchah, laughed to herself, saying, "Having grown withered, will I now be bathed in pleasure with my lord, an old man?" Adonai said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Will I really give birth to a child? And I am so old.' Is anything impossible for Adonai? At this season I will come back to you in about a year's time, and Sarah will have a son." Then Sarah made a lying denial. "I did not laugh, for she was afraid." But Adonai said, "Not true, you did laugh." Okay. So I want to pause there. When you read this text, I want you to be focused on and reflective on who is Sarah and what are we learning about Sarah. We're just focused on the character of Sarah right now. That's what I want you to do. Look through the text. What are we learning about Sarah and this moment in her life at this time? Marcia.
She believes that God is powerful because she laughed and then was afraid.
Oh, okay, so we have different emotions here from Sarah. What's the emotional journey that we see from Sarah here?
Shock, and then fear.
Okay, shock and then fear,
And disbelief.
disbelief,
Skepticism.
skepticism.
And then she makes it worse by saying, well, doesn't she, by saying, you know, the person says, don't you believe God can do that?
And what
Doesn't
does she
that-
say?
Uh-oh.
Okay, she had an uh-oh moment. Okay, but so as we're looking here, I want you to take a look at the text and I want you to think about, let's start from the beginning. Where is Sarah, your wife?
In the tent.
She's in the tent. Where is she in the tent?
Right there.
Kind of, or
Eavesdropping.
Okay, eavesdropping, she's right, so I want you to visualize Sarah, okay? What is she doing?
Listening.
She's listening.
So she's smart enough to know that these guests are important and she wants to hear what they have to say, but it's not a woman's place to come out and talk to them. So she's right there.
Right, very interesting, so what what are we going to start to create about, if we have to create the image of Sarah? Who is she? What is she doing? How does she understand herself in this scene? Imagine you are a character actor and you have to play Sarah. Who are you?
Timid.
Hmm?
Timid.
No.
I think strong.
Big sort of.
Right.
Curious. She has a curiosity. This isn't written in the text, but this is the work of Torah learning, right? We're digging down deeper. The Torah is not telling us who is Sarah. We have to interpret from the language to understand who is the character of Sarah. All right, so the first thing we do is, as we're imagining where she is, she's standing there for a reason. She's curious. Her curiosity is sparked. It's not enough to just do what she has been asked to do. She's been asked to do what?
Serve them.
Get it together, right? Get that flour going, let's get the bread going, hurry, 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 they were here, right? And to prepare it. She did that.
She didn't want to stop.
Now what?
Stop.
Right, she didn't want to be sad, she's curious, what's happening, what are they talking about? Who are these people? They're just wandering by, I'm so curious, who could they be? Okay? Yeah,
I was just gonna say similar, excuse me, that, it's more than curiosity, she feels that she maybe thinks that it must be so important, these people, for him, after just going through his own personal, physical experience, and all of a sudden, to be giving these strangers a lot of hospitality, who are they?
okay, so the best thing about that, which is so interesting here, is that our tradition elevates this experience. Meaning, our tradition and the rabbis teach that Abraham and Sarah are the model exemplars of Hachnasat Orchim, of welcoming guests, of being hospitable. The tradition teaches that their tent was always open, it was open on all sides. Meaning that this is not necessarily the first time they have welcomed strangers into their tent. One can assume from the way that the rabbis describe them as these model exemplars is that this is what they do. This is just what they do. Now, it could be that every time they do that, she's a little curious, right? What's going on? Maybe her experience of knowing that people have come into the tent, she knows she can learn something. What have they experienced? What have they seen? What messages are they bringing? Right? What exists beyond where we are, right? Right, so it's interesting. So, and in this example that we see in the Torah, she's gonna learn something about herself. But we can assume that all the other times, she knows where to stand in the tent, right behind them. She's learning and listening, she's gathering information, she's collecting insight into the wonders of what's happening out there. Okay, now in this particular scene, now what does she hear? So let's see let's now look at, okay, Dory.
I was gonna say she's realistic. I mean, she's gone through menopause. I mean, they're saying. she
Well, we
doesn't-
haven't gotten there yet.
Oh,
But yeah, that's next, okay, that's next, so right now the scene is, she's listening, she's curious, she wants to know, she's gathering information. Now, she hears something,
why is the text inverted? I mean, why is there like a parentheses in the format of the text? It had to have been deliberate. Why?
that's a great question.
Where?
Now.
Now, Abraham
Sarah
said
were old for 11.
Oh.
Why is the text different there? Like, are we not supposed to?
Like a person telling. Like almost as
Right.
an over voice saying.
Yeah, no, it's very
They
interesting.
don't realize that she's old and can't have children, so they're trying to tell us that, you know, she's in menopause. I mean,
No, but that's interesting, Mark, question, I don't know, I'm not the editor, right, so write down the question, we can find out. It's interesting, okay,
well, that's why she laughed.
now, let's keep, okay, so what happens next? So now she's listening, she's eavesdropping, and she hears. What?
She's gonna have a baby.
She's gonna have a baby. So she hears it. Right, she internalizes it. And what does she do?
Laughs.
Then we usually say she laughs.
Right.
Right? This is a really interesting line here.
It is.
She laughs to herself.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because if you also think about. In the whole context of the Torah. How much time is given not just to women's personal reactions, but to anybody's personal reactions. Okay, in this kind of a way. This is like a glimpse into this very intimate moment. She's by herself. Think about the times that you laugh to yourself. Right? It's a very human, interesting, natural, like sort of interesting way to say it. She laughs to herself.
What's interesting is it wasn't out loud if it was to herself, but God heard her anyway.
Right, exactly right.
It's kind of confusing the way they write it, because here you have a stranger telling them that I'm coming back and and Sarah's gonna have a baby. And all of a sudden it switches to, and then God said, so it doesn't quite make sense in the way it's written in this. I mean,
That's
that
the
might
Torah.
how it's written
in the Torah. Yeah, no, this is how it's written in the Torah, right,
Okay,
this
but-
whole moment, this
but-
whole scene.
you know, how is she supposed to know that this stranger is God? God, the stranger, they said to him, where's Sarah? And in a year, we're gonna come back. And then she laughs, and now all of a sudden God's saying, what, you're questioning me?
Yeah.
She wasn't questioning God, she's questioning a stranger, she doesn't know what he is.
Oh, Dory, that's the whole point,
Right, well,
right? To wrestle with the text,
right,
to wrestle with the text to say, who is she laughing at? Is she laughing just as a, what a silly idea, or, I never thought that was gonna be possible for me. Or
all of
all of the above,
right.
right?
All of the above.
So she's laughing to herself. Because she's experiencing a moment that provokes something deep from within her. Something that she has yearned for and wanted, but also has put back away in her mind because she's now 100 years old. And is this really possible? It provokes something from within her, okay? Now, when we say, now God becomes a character in the story. God becomes another character in this story. And that's what you're responding to.
Right.
The character of Sarah, the character of the people, the character of Abraham, and now the character of God.
I'm gonna take it in a slightly different direction for your original question.
Yeah, please.
100 plus 20 plus 7, she
Yeah.
was 100 when she had Isaac. So that could be the 100.
Uh-huh,
I don't know if the 20 and the 7 are, but that could be why it's broken up that way.
okay. Yeah, that was the moment that she laughed, right? 100, right? So it's telling a pivotal moment in her life. Beautiful. I like that.
So as someone who's 7 years postmenopausal, all I know is I went to my home exam and they're like, you're gonna have a baby, I'd be like. Okay, this is a joke.
Right.
Come on, camera, Alan, where are you? I can imagine if she's like, I'm bearing him at this point in my life, and they're like, oh, by the way, spies. She's going, oh, what?
Right.
It happens, so her laughing, not like, but like,
Right, so what's interesting here is we focus a lot on that laughter moment. But it could be described in many different ways, right? It's an emotional response to hearing something. It's a reaction to the news. It's a, what, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What did I just hear? Right? Okay, and then what happens? She then explains to herself. She laughs to herself and then she reflects on what she just heard. Having grown withered, will I now be bathed in pleasure with my Lord, an old man? I want you to pay attention to what she says, because then God says something to Abraham. It doesn't say God said to Sarah, right? No, it says something different. Adonai said to Abraham. Why did Sarah laugh? Does Abraham even know that Sarah laughs?
Maybe not.
Well, he didn't, she was in the tent. She was behind. She laughed to herself. God goes to Abraham, he heard it. He hears it. God hears all things, right? And goes to Abraham and says, why did she laugh? And then she laughed and she said, will I really give birth to a child? And I am so old. Is that what Sarah said?
No, but that's what I was thinking.
Is that what Sarah said? What does Sarah say?
Oh, she's thinking my husband really perform at his age.
What? Right?
She said, can my husband really perform at his age?
Yes. But, and what does God leave out when speaking to Abraham?
Her doubt.
Of who? No, but Sarah's doubt of who?
It's
Abraham.
Who's the him?
Abraham.
Abraham. It's fascinating. God doesn't replay word for word what Sarah actually said to Abraham. Why? It may hurt his feelings. He doesn't say, by the way, she's also not so confident that this is something that you could provide for her. Okay, just looking at the text, a straight shot at the text, okay? What is interesting is that God hears Sarah but goes directly to Abraham, but doesn't report back exactly what Sarah said. Okay, which is interesting. Because she says, will I really give birth to a child? Will I really do this? Am I so old? He doesn't reflect back to Abraham that Sarah thinks this, right? That he's the old one, but rather God says to Abraham that she thinks she's too old. So it's just an interesting moment in time.
But she did say with it.
She did, but it leaves out the Abraham.
But what she also says is, well, I now be gains of pleasure.
Yeah,
I think that's very telling,
yeah,
because that's saying. To your point, Tori, like, look at Parsha, like, can you perform?
can he perform, but also the pleasure of what? Not just sexual intimacy, but pleasure, but also the pleasure of having a baby. Am I able at this age to have this sense of joy? To have this pleasure of bringing life into the world? Is that really possible for me?
But we know past this, he goes on to have more children,
That's right.
Abraham.
He's eight.
So he's feral.
Yeah, because age doesn't really mean what we think of it today, let's say, right?
I'm saying she doesn't have another child, but he does, so he
Right.
still can, you know. go
Yes,
out.
he.
Right.
Right, yes, she does, right? She does, she's concerned, right? But it's also just an interesting moment in the interaction, but also to demonstrate Sarah, if we're thinking about who Sarah was, right, and what is she thinking? Then let's see what happens next. God then says, he protects Abraham's feelings, but then God becomes a little bit vulnerable here too. Or a little bit like, wait a second, does she not think that this is impossible for me to provide? Is anything impossible for God? He makes an interesting statement here to Abraham to reflect what is Sarah's strength and her faith in me. Right? Does she not think that I can give her this child? And at this season, God says, I'll come back to you and Sarah's gonna have a son. Then line 15. Because if we're studying the character of Sarah and understanding who she is, Sarah made a lying denial. And she says, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. But Adonai says, not true, you did laugh. Now all of a sudden, who is God speaking to? Sarah. Wow.
The conversation, and
What?
there's a three-way conversation.
Yes. It's fascinating, this moment, when we think about how often does God speak directly to human beings? Does God speak to women?
Does it speak to any other women?
I think so. Well, doesn't he speak to,
We're gonna hear God's voice with, but not with I'm just thinking about the matriarchs themselves.
doesn't he speak?
This is
To Ishmael's mother.
to Hagar, which is next, but I'm thinking about any of the matriarchs. I don't think so. And not like this, where this is a direct conversation as well as amongst the three of them. That God is speaking to him and is part of the conversation between husband and wife. It's a really beautiful and fascinating moment that calls us to pause.
He doesn't speak to Eve. And I mean, he says.
No, because it's the serpent that speaks to, no,
When he says, what have you done? That's.
calls out to Adam. Calls out to Adam. Ayeka, where are you? Right? This is more direct, right? Yes, you did. You did laugh. This is like, we're all in the same room here together. No, you did laugh. I heard you. You did laugh. Not true. You did laugh. It's also just an interesting interplay between God and a husband and a wife in this moment. And the recognition that God is an active character in this story. It's not Vayomer Adonai, it's not God spoke to, or God told, or God said, right? No, you did laugh. There's no setup, there's no contextual setup for the interaction. It's just an interesting moment.
I'm just thinking about Sarah thinking she's barren, because barrenness is a whole thing in the Torah.
Yes.
And she didn't have a child, but Abraham was able to implant a seed in Hagar. So no wonder she would laugh. She thought she was barren, not the fact that could he still give her a child. She didn't think he was capable of giving her a child because all these years, she's 100, he never had a child. So the fact that there's a seed coming.
Yeah.
It's almost not through Abraham, it's through God putting the fertility back,
Right.
putting fertility into Sarah.
Right.
So it's like, it's a three-way thing here with her getting pregnant.
Yeah, we could probably say that.
Taking my grace.
You say it out loud. Yes, you did. I heard you. I heard you. Yes, they're gone.
Dorin made a point that we commended her for pride, when she said, Sarah might have lost at the visitors, not at God. However, we might have to overturn it, verse 12, as in 15, verse 9. She did recognize it was God, she was not, when she died.
Oh, so she recognizes the voice of God, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Dorin.
No, that's very interesting. That it's no longer the Anashim, the people. Then now she also makes a distinction and recognizes that there's a different voice.
So.
Interesting, very interesting. Alright, so let's first remember, we're also, this is an amazing conversation. I also want us to look at the page because this is You know, this is one of those newer commentaries. So, right, this is at the bottom of the page, we see a modern commentary from the comedian Sarah Silverman, who writes and comments on what is surprise, right? Because this is a surprise for Sarah. She says, surprise, at the bottom of the page, page 7. Laughter is joy. That's that whole moment of the pleasure and the laughter. Laughter is joy, and it can be a reaction to surprise, as well as to the inevitable. Here, Sarah's laughter is a reaction to surprising news, to a miracle, even. For she has found out she will become pregnant at an advanced age. This Sarah, me, laughs at the inevitable when I stand as a comedian on stage at 54. I'm not saying I'm pregnant per se, but I haven't had my period in 48 months. Sometimes laughter is acceptance of what is. Laughter is us as our best selves. That's why we share. What do you think?
I know that they took a comedian and put her in comedy.
He's Jewish.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So what, so when you say that, like, why does that jump out for you, and and why do you think it's so meaningful, like relevant, meaningful?
Because I think we can all add something, and that she's so pertinent and relevant to today, that if she can do it, we can do it.
I love that.
May I ask?
That's so
what
nice.
she meant when she said, we, you referring to women, huh?
Yeah, just. with
Well,
Jen.
I was about to say to Rabbi that the fact that she compiling a new thing started in November 25. Then, of course, she'd have some women commentaries. So I was happy to see at least something down here is Sarah.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of women that are gonna be in this, and there's also been a women's commentary, there is a women's Torah commentary that the movement put out a few years ago. But the beauty about this, I think, is that what the editors are saying here is just like what Marcia's saying. That typically when you open up one of these books or Torah commentaries, there are words of people that either are centuries old or hold a position of a theologian, a scholar,
Right.
right, like. But this is to say, and our tradition teaches it, is that everyone has the opportunity to teach something, that we can learn from the experiences of all people. And to reflect that in the Torah commentary is deeply profound, right? And it's a true living expression of the value that we teach, but it's a living documentation of that value, which is beautiful. And that you'll see throughout the whole book when you have time on your own to go through this section in its totality.
When does it come out?
Oh, they're still working on it. They're trying to get funding.
So a couple decades.
No, it'll be, no, it won't be that long, it won't be that long. Page 8. I wanted just to look at the two expressions here on page 8 from the Mikrot section, from Midrash Bereshit Rabbah. Okay, Sarah said, let me see if I have this on the screen, put it on here, yeah. Sarah said, laughter has God made for me. Rabbi Brachia ben Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Shimon in the name of Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yitzchak. Why should others care that Sarah was attended to? The explanation is that when Sarah was attended to by conceiving Yitzchak, many other women who were unable to conceive children were attended to as well, and they conceived children of their own. Many deaf people gained their hearing, many blind people had their eyes opened, many without intelligence gained intelligence. And then where do we experience miracles? Right above. Within the Parsha, Sarah's pregnancy and Yitzchak's birth are miraculous events that disrupt the natural order. These stories have prompted reflection on the nature of miracles and our responses to them. So that the sages also say, not only was this a moment of laughter and of Sarah's emotional reaction to it, but it was also her experience of one of these divine miracles. And so that they're going to trace that Sarah, in and of itself, she experienced and recognized miracle and divine miraculous event. Okay, we have a few minutes. I want us to let's look at the bottom on the Mikrot on the bottom of page 8. We're going to look at both of these, okay? Again, this section here, these two sections are bringing in look at the time periods. Joy Ladin in 1961, Rabbi Yosef Karo in the 1488 to 1573 was when he lived. Yosef Karo has the magnificent the Karo synagogue in Tzvat, one of the mystics, Kabbalists of our tradition. So we're gonna look at two different opinions, centuries apart. Okay. So Joy Ladin says Sarah and Abraham laughed. Look at what she writes. Sarah and Abraham laughed when God announces that Sarah will have a child because their understanding of gender, their beliefs about what men and women can do and be, tells them that such a thing is absurd. The Torah makes it clear that God intends Sarah's pregnancy to provoke this kind of laughter. God could have easily have enabled Sarah to have a son when she was still of what we normally think of as childbearing age. If God had done so, Sarah would have been spared decades of gender failure. Hagar would have been spared forced intercourse with Abraham, and the only laughter prompted by Sarah's pregnancy would have been the laughter of pure joy. But such a pregnancy would not have been considered miraculous. That is presumably why God is not angry when Abraham and Sarah laugh at the news that Sarah will have a child. God means Sarah's pregnancy to provoke that kind of response, which Abraham memorializes by naming their son Isaac, Yitzchak, which means laughter.
That's right.
What?
Gender failure, that's harsh.
Oh,
Okay,
that's reality. It's still, oh no, hello, I mean, that's like, didn't Charles like kill all his wives? Cause he was shooting X's, not Y's. I mean, you know, like, come on, that's gender, and when you look back at it, that was his gender failing, you know, it's, I mean, until very recently. I mean, that
notice the
was-
time she's writing,
Right.
right? Notice the time she's writing, right? Very, a woman, right?
She's also writing in
She's making a
1960.
commentary, yeah, she's making a societal commentary, right? You don't have, but you don't have to like it, right? You don't have to like it, and that's the point. The point is to provoke from within you a feeling to say, I hear what she's writing, and this makes me uncomfortable, which is important because in order for us to learn, we have to be even in spaces of discomfort. Discomfort is what brings us to a place to find comfort in our knowing and in our awareness, as well as in our understanding that there are realities in the world that are uncomfortable, right? And from that, we can grow. It's very interesting. So I love your response to it. That's why I like zoomed in on you, because I love your response to it. Because you are right in line with where the text is asking you to be. Right? This is the whole Genesis saga and story should provoke that type of reaction and response to us if we're actually reading the words, right? These are challenging, difficult, joyous, amazing, miraculous, uncertain, dark, light moments of inspiration and moments of difficulty and unrest and unease. And if a document can't provoke that from you, then why would we read it every single year, the same stories, right? It forces us to do that. It evokes something deep from within us to say, how does this hit me and why is this hitting me right now the way it is? Because every time you read it, I guarantee you that the same sentences are not gonna hit you the same way. Every time you read it, the words are gonna hit you a little bit differently because you yourself are different and you're experiencing something different in the context in which you're living. And for the life of Sarah, for us, like when we learn and we grow up and we recite the matriarchs, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, right? When we think about the matriarchs in of themselves, we gloss sort of over the depth of who they were because the stories about them are relatively short. That's why there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of books and midrashim and stories that are written in order to fill in the gaps because there are so many gaps in the Torah. Otherwise, it would be a scroll that could wrap around the world, right? It'd be so long. So the gaps and the parts in which call us to say, who was she? Right? So when we open up this week's Torah portion, Chai Sarah, the life of Sarah, and we ask ourselves, who is Sarah? You don't know from the portion that we're opening today. And so it asks us then to say, here are the different moments of her life. That her life was not just, she was the woman who said, yes, I'll go with Avram and follow a voice that I don't know. Sarah is not just the woman who goes, that Abraham goes into the tent, says, hurry up, make the food, and she rushes out and disappears. Sarah is much more complex than that. And she deserves that study and that understanding and that filling in of the gap in order for us to say to ourselves, Chaye Sarah, what is the life of Sarah? Who is Sarah? And what can Sarah teach us about our own lives and the journeys that we all take? And that our lives in and of itself are made of these beautiful building blocks. Moments in time that define and transform, shift and change us, that force us to evoke different emotions from within, to fill the fullness of the picture of who we are and who we hope to be. And that is what we can learn from Chaye Sarah by going back to Vayera, to then studying together, and hopefully, God willing, it'll be a Shabbat of laughter and joy in honor of Chaye Sarah and the honor of the life of Sarah. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want you to take this with you, okay? I want you to take this with you. And what I want you to do is you're gonna read through it, you're gonna comment on it. And if you remember, here's what I want you to do. I want you to send me an email. I'm gonna write down my email. L H A S.
Listen, friends.
Hmm?
Did you say F or S?
S as in Sam, Haas. LHAAS at TBE Boca.org. And I'm going to send you a form from the Reform Movement, from the editors of the commentary. They want you to supply your feedback. Your voice becomes a part of the process of creating this book. So it's really important that you fill out this, the feedback form. We studied it, I want you to read through it again, you have only a few days, we have to the 17th to submit the forms. So I want you to send me the email so that I can collectively send you all the form. Because you get to be a part of creating this next commentary. Your feedback helps them craft and fine tune what they're putting together. So that's a really beautiful responsibility. So you're gonna send me that email and I'm gonna at some point today get you the form, okay? You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. See you.